problem. It belonged to their father, Eurus, the most powerful storm god of them all, and somehow Eurus had gotten his hands on it, which explained the entire summer's worth of ass-kicking. The sacred stone gave its wearer the power to control all the winds, and thus him. Bad enough when his father made use of those powers. Catastrophic now that Eurus could. Chrys hadn't told anyone that Eurus had Aeolus's ring, for fear that knowledge would hammer yet another nail into his brother's coffin. Not to mention their fathers for not making that little revelation himself. Now, that shit was just waiting to hit the fan. What's your endgame here, huh? You're playing right into the Olympians' hands. And for what? For now, they're letting the family resolve this situation. But once they're involved, it'll be too late. The humid bay breeze whipped around him. He tugged long strands of hair out of his eyes. As if I would tell you, boy. Eurus crossed his arms over his broad chest and sighed. I tire of your questions. The smug smile that settled on his face was all the creepier for the new slashing red scar carved into the left side of his face from temple to lips. How he'd gotten the wound, which could only have come at the hand of a stronger god, Chrys had no clue. In truth, I tire of you. Chrys ignored the way his heart tripped. A lifetime of trying and failing to win your big brother's approval made you a bit sensitive, though. Fucking hell. Eurus, man, come on. I just want to help you. You're my brother, and we can fix this. The firestone flared to life, a soft red that soon blazed so bright it was hard to look at. Chrys braced, his muscles suddenly alive with tension, the air constricted around his body. Eurus's ring finger twitched. It was all Chrys needed to see. In a heartbeat, he flashed into his elemental form and shot skyward. Eurus's energy followed. How many more fights did Chrys have in him? Dark clouds already gathered and billowed around them. Inky tendrils of Eurus's malevolent east wind gusted over him, crawling through his energy as if searching for a weak spot. Even in his elemental form, Chrys shuddered as he released a burst of power to throw them off. But it was too little, too late. Preternatural disturbances in the air rammed him from all directions, as if he were a featherweight boxer facing an invincible heavyweight opponent. Icy cold north wind that Eurus had no busy commanding lashed against him like a frozen whip, the frigidity stealing Chrys's breath and power with every cutting impact. Exactly what his brother intended, since Chrys's intolerance to cold wasn't exactly a secret. Chrys dug deep into his powers and poured on everything he could muster. But hell if 3 long months of fighting a stronger god hadn't depleted his reserves. He rocketed across the bay and over the eastern shore, hoping to draw the threatening storm over the Atlantic Ocean, where it would do less damage to land and people. A ripple of electricity shuddered past him, as if conducted by the humidity. Damn it all to Hades. The defeated thought had barely formed before Eurus's attack hit home. Lightning belted around him in tight, suffocating, scorching loops. Chrys cried out, an agonized roar that unleashed a series of deafening crashes of thunder. Knowing he was out of time, he struggled to twist free and flung bolts of his own, zinging electricity across the sky in flashes of red and purple and orange so unnatural he knew they'd capture the attention of humanity. But he had no choice. Soon, he would be completely at his brother's mercy. Not that Eurus had any. And damn if that gem of an admission didn't highlight the possibility that Eurus was a total lost cause. But how is he supposed to just give up on the brother he'd spent the better part of his life trying to save? He didn't have time to ponder an answer. Eurus's electricity attached to Chrys's energy signature, slowly but surely stealing his self-control and siphoning off his life force, like a vampire supping at leisure from his victim's throat. An immortal could only be injured by another of stronger power, and that fucking ring was giving Eurus, normally the least powerful of the 4 Anemoi, everything he needed. A monster of a storm opened up all